Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 249th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Straight away, you may notice that this isn't the usual map that we play on, and that's because this map has been made by Brotherhood member Crypto, who downloaded a map making program and has made that. As you can see, that mountain at the back there, he's nicknamed that Crypto Mountain, and you can see other mountains in the background as well. And as I say, he looks like he's had a lot of fun making this map with the map making program that he's downloaded. Let's say it's nice to play on different maps, and I think this should be an interesting one. If you notice, the enemy here has a slight downhill advantage there. You can see there's a slight slope there, and if they're going to be aggressive or attack, then I'd have thought it would have been done in this area, as the rest of the map, if you notice, on the enemy team looks quite flat. But this has just got a very slight downhill, so as I say, if the enemy wanted to be aggressive, I think this is where they would attack, and unfortunately it's me that they would be attacking. So and here we go, and the team I'm in today consists of myself, Spartan Commander, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction, and then we have Brotherhood member Olon, who has also bought the Rome Scipio faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Cal, who has bought the Rome Brutii faction. And our final teammate is Brotherhood member Gladius, who has bought the Greek Cities faction there. As you can see there, I think he's got, I think it's 14 pike units and 6 Cretan archers. So it should be interesting to see how this battle unfolds. Should be a good one for you to watch. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Crypto, who's bought the Rome Julio faction. And remember, Crypto's the member that's actually made this map. Let's say it's an interesting map. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member Mystique, who has bought the Rome SPQR faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Uther, who has bought the Rome Julio faction. Now, if you notice in Uther's army, I think he's only got 11 infantry units and an old school cavalry armoured general there. Now, if you look at the upgrades on that armoured general, can you see that it's fully upgraded? Now, the specifications on that general is very good anyway, but to actually fully upgrade it makes that unit super elite. And I know Uther used it very well. But also, if you noticed, he's bought a Eagle unit there, and of course, so his infantry will be having morale support there by that Eagle unit when it's in the fight. But there's only 11 infantry units there, so it should be interesting to see how well this army does. And I think this is one of Uther's older armies there. As I say, he's got the old school cavalry general. Their next teammate is Brotherhood member Steve Longshanks, who has bought the Rome Julio faction there. And as I say, he's on this advantageous bit of the map where there's a slight downhill slope. This is where I anticipate the attack to be. Should be a good one for you to watch. At this very early stage of the battle here, you can see Steve's moving forward. If you notice that Uther has moved forward as well there in an aggressive way. And if you notice that Gladius has broken his army up into 2 parts. He got his main army there facing Uther's Julia army. If you notice, Uther's put a couple of his forward units into Testudo there, ready to receive a pike charge. Remember, that's the standard formation that Roman generals put into when they're expecting a pike attack there. If you notice that Gladius is moving forward with his pikes towards Uther there. And as I say, you can see that there's just a slight downhill advantage to the enemy team. Let's just pause again for a second. So say Steve Longshanks is there with his army, and he's got a cavalry backup behind him there. I think Mystique plus his own cavalry. And as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if on this flank the enemy team became aggressive there. If you notice that Gladius here has moved, split his army into 2 and moved his B army over into my army there, and that's a great move by him there, because he's seen all the enemy cavalry out there ready to attack, and he knows by putting Spartans in there that will put off the enemy attacking my infantry with the cavalry. So that's a nice bit of teamwork there by Gladius. I say there's a general overview of the battlefield here at the very early stages of the battle. You can see Olon and Cal over on our right flank there. I've got no engagement with the enemy yet, and it's just a kind of bit of a standoff at the moment over on that flank. But as I say, I've got a feeling that the action could kick off over on our left flank here. As I say, the enemy's got a slight slope advantage. Okay, at this stage of the battle, you can see that Mystique has moved some of her cavalry, SBQR cavalry, out to the left of my infantry there. And as well as I say, you can see Steve Longshanks got his cavalry there as well. So it looks like they'd love to put in a combination cavalry attack here onto maybe the forward units of my infantry. But as I say, Gladius, being the great team player that he is, has brought over his B Spartan army there to kind of beef up my my infantry there with an anti-cavalry pike units there. As you can see, I've got my cavalry just behind my infantry there, slightly over to the left, just ready to attack. Right, can you see Mystique bringing a cavalry unit over there? I think she'd like to go for Gladius's archers there, but you can see my cavalry just behind them, so she won't go for them, but bang, into the back of one of my forward pilot shield units there. Nice little hit there by that individual unit, almost like kind of a surgical hit. So I've moved my cavalry forward there, and if you notice that she's moved that unit back. As I say, I'm anticipating some aggressive movement on this left flank there. If you notice that Gladius has got his Cretan archers in place there, shooting fire arrows into the enemy cavalry. Let's just pause the game for a second here. As I say, Gladius has got his archers there. Notice they're in close formation. He doesn't need to have them in open formation as the enemy's got no archers. So he's got them in tight formation there, which adds more impact to the archer hits. And he's shooting fire arrows into Steve's cavalry there, forcing them to retreat. Also, if you notice, as I said before, he's got pike units intermingled with my infantry units there. But it's going to stop any thoughts of an enemy cavalry attack onto my infantry line. As I say, great teamwork there by Gladius. New players watching this, remember that team battles are just that, team battles, watching out for each other, being a team player. You might be a great individual player, but if you win at your part of the battlefield and you turn around and find that your allies have lost, then you'll probably end up losing the battle. So it's all about teamwork. As I say, you can see Gladius's archers shooting loads and loads of fire arrows into those enemy cavalry. If you notice, I've got my cavalry there. I don't want to leave them out there in the open there where they could be attacked by enemy cavalry. I'll leave them there, and if the enemy wants to attack, I can always throw in infantry for close support there. If you notice that Oland's bringing some of his cavalry units over to this flank as well, as he spotted that the enemy may well try to attack. And there's a general view of the overview of the rest of the battle there. Let's say it seems to be quite quiet on other parts of the battlefield at the moment, and it just seems to be this left flank that things are happening at the moment. You see the advantage of having long-range archers when the enemy haven't got any. He can just stand back defended by our infantry and cavalry and shoot loads of arrows into the enemy cavalry, forcing them back, forcing them away from their infantry there. So it's a nice little move there by Gladius to bring his archers over there. If you notice, he's moving his archers forward to keep the enemy cavalry in range. And if you notice, I've moved my cavalry out a little bit to support them if the enemy were thinking of throwing an odd unit in there to try and take out some of the archers. But as you can see, the enemy have got a slight slope advantage there. Doesn't make a great deal of difference, but it's just a very slight advantage, and that's why I thought they may well attack on this flank. As you can see, Gladius is advancing into Uther's Julii army there. Very aggressive with the Spartans. Remember, a lot of people play with Greek cities in a defensive way, but they've got a really great aggressive attacking specifications as well. So, I mean, it's pretty good to attack with them. As you can see, the enemy cavalry are moving out to the left more in a threatening way. I think they're the way they're looking. I've got my cavalry ready there to attack if they decide to charge into the flank of my my infantry. As you see, you've got the Spartans at the front of my infantry formation attacking the Julii army in front, but if you notice that the flank of my infantry could be a target for the cavalry, so that's why I've got my cavalry there ready to support. Right, just pause the game for a second. So as you say, I'm moving my cavalry back a little bit there, so if the enemy does attack, if they do try and come into the flank or go for my cavalry, I'm close enough to my infantry to be able to send in infantry support into the cavalry battle if they want to bring their cavalry over here. That's why I'm moving over there. As you can see here, Gladius is being extremely aggressive with the Spartans, advancing into Steve's army there. As I say, it's great to see a Spartan general who's using them in an aggressive way rather than defense. There's one of Steve's units in Testudo, as you can see. As I say, that's the common defense formation the Roman generals use when they're receiving a pike attack there, as it slows down and can disrupt the enemy battle lines it advances. As you can see here, I've got a feeling that Gladius is probably going to attack Uther's infantry again with his own infantry, being very aggressive for the Spartans. And as you see, if we move over to Mystique facing Ulan, not a lot going on there. And as we go right over to our right flank there, Crypto and Cal, there's not a lot going on there at the moment. As I said before, it looks like the main action at this time is over here on the left flank. Where you see, as I said earlier, I've moved my cavalry back a little bit more behind my infantry. So if the enemy cavalry does charge in, either to attack the flank of my infantry, I can counter with my cavalry, or if they go for my cavalry, I can throw in infantry support. As I say, you can see Gladius advancing there towards Steve's Julio army with his Greek cities. You see Uther's cavalry are stood out there as well, possibly looking to charge in if needed. And if you notice here, can you see how Steve's moving his infantry out to our left flank in a left flanking action there? He's probably hoping to move that that infantry out there to assist any cavalry attack he throws in. If you notice, he's bringing his Julii cavalry over there, looking like he's going to try and take out one of my forward pilot shield units. And bang, as his cavalry goes in. If you notice, I'm moving my cavalry forward there. I'm going to charge it into the flank of Steve's Julii cavalry there. If you notice, my Brutii ally Ulan is bringing his cavalry over as well to support. If you notice that Uther's brought his cavalry over and Mystique has brought her cavalry over as well, so it looks like it could turn into a massive cavalry with a little bit of infantry support attack here on our left flank. I say nice supporting work there by Ulan, bringing his Brutii cavalry over to help all the way over from that other flank. And I think Cal's brought his cavalry in as well there. So, as I say, it's poised here on this flank to be maybe a pivotal part of the battle. I think whoever wins on this left flank could go on to win the whole battle here. You can see that Gladius' archers are shooting loads and loads of fire arrows into the enemy cavalry. So don't forget that not only causes casualties but lowers the morale of the enemy troops as well. Okay, let's just pause again for a second. As you can see now, I've rotated my infantry left a little bit to try and neutralise that attack. If you notice that, Cal with his Brutii cavalry and my cavalry there are ready to counterattack any big cavalry attack that comes in. But you can see the enemy have got their cavalry. Uther's brought his infantry over here to support Steve. As I say, they got most of their cavalry over on this left flank as well, because I think they can see that maybe whoever wins on this left flank could go on to win the battle. You can see here Gladius is attacking some of Uther's units in Testudo, but he's also bringing units over to attack Uther's units in the flank there. As I say, Gladius being very aggressive with his Greek cities army. As you move over to the right centre there, you can see there's a little bit of skirmishing going on between the two armies, but over on the right flank there's not a lot going on. So as he said, right the way through this battle, it looks like this left flank is the main aggressive point of the battle. And as I say, whoever wins here could well go on to win the battle, and therefore the action that happens here is pivotal to the possibly the outcome of the battle. If you notice here, Steve's moved his cavalry a bit further out to the left there. I say, all the time you can see those fire arrows going into the enemy cavalry there. Gladius is doing a great job with those archers in that tight formation. As you can see, Gladius, as I say, is bringing his Spartans over, attacking the flank of Steve and Uther's units there that are facing my army. But if you notice, there's a heck of a lot of cavalry over here on this flank. And as I say, I think there's going to be one massive one massive cavalry battle here, I think. You see the enemy moving in there, threatening Cal's cavalry. Right, if you notice, I'm charging my Scipio cavalry into that Julii cavalry, and if you notice, Cal is now charging his in, and now we've got Ulan's cavalry coming in as well. So this is a massive cavalry battle here. If you notice, can you see Mystique's SBQR cavalry ready to attack? Notice how she's charging hers. She just changed formation into wedge formation there to get more penetration with the hit. And bang, as that cavalry goes in. Right, let's just pause the game for a second. So on this left flank, I think basically everybody's cavalry is involved here. Plus, if you notice, I'm throwing some of my Scipii infantry in, and Steve's throwing some of his Julii infantry in there. You can see Ulan bringing more cavalry units in behind. And as I say, this left flank could prove pivotal to the battle. As I say, you can see I'm throwing infantry units in there, and I think Steve's bringing infantry units in as well. If you notice, I'm throwing more infantry in. If you notice that Steve's attacking with his Julii infantry as well to my forward units, and Gladius is still attacking with his Spartans there over on the left of the enemy flank formation here that's facing my army. So I say it's all here. Can you see that Cal has brought Brutii infantry all the way over from our right flank? Now, as I say, this is a great teamwork thing to do here. New players watching it, as I say, team battles are all about that, helping each other out as much as you can. Over on our right flank, you can see still not really a lot going on, a bit of skirmishing, but most of the armies over here are just kind of, well, kind of not doing anything at the moment. As I say, with the main action going on over here on our left, you thought maybe some more armies or reinforcements might have been sent over here. Right, if you notice, a lot of the enemy Julii cavalry are starting to rout at this stage. As I say, Cal and myself are throwing infantry units into this fray as well. Remember, just at a glance, we are the green and the blue over on this side, and the Greek cities. The enemy are the red and the purple. So just at a glance at the colours here, you can see exactly what's happening there. Right, can you see a lot of the enemy cavalry, as I say, is routed. Right, can you see that Cal and myself are taking full advantage of this and are moving infantry units round the left here. Now, if we can gain that a little bit of higher ground up on that slope, we can then come down onto the enemy. And we're taking advantage of the slight ground advantage there. Notice how Cal and myself very aggressive with our infantry units there, moving around to the left. And it wouldn't surprise me if Cal threw his cavalry in there to help take out some more of those Julii units there. Let's just pause the game for a second, just to take stock of exactly what's happened. So over here on this left flank, I think that cavalry with a little bit of infantry battle there could have been pivotal to the battle. Whoever won there would have been able to get in behind the enemy team. And as you can see here, Cal and I said myself are throwing infantry units in. Let's say Cal's brought those infantry units all the way over from the right flank. They're really great support. And as I say, Gladius with his Spartans have been helping all the way through this battle here with great teamwork. There's a group of Spartans there. I think that Gladius is either moving off over to the right, the SBQR, or he's going to move them over to the left here to help us try and take out these enemy Julii units that are there. And what we'll try and do is try and roll the enemy team up from left to right. Now we've managed to win that battle on the left flank there. You see, we're charging our cavalry and infantry in there, routing a lot of the Julii units there. I see Uther's got his Julii units over there at the back there, but Gladius is moving those Spartan units in as well. So we're kind of coming at the enemy Julii team from the front and the flanks. If you notice that Cal's tactically moved his cavalry round to the rear of those Julii units there. If you notice, the Julii general was charging cavalry into the flank of one of Cal's cavalry units there. But a lot of the enemy units have been battle depleted now, and if you notice, a lot of the Julii units are starting to rout as we're starting to turn this left flank. As you see, as I say, we're start moving in from left to right. As I say, trying to roll the enemy team up from right to left. You've noticed that Crypto now has brought his infantry all the way over from the other flank there to try and shore up this flank. But I think with the way things are looking, with the cavalry advantage that we've got now, as well as we've got lots of infantry units here, both Greek cities and infantry moving in from the left, I would think it looks very much, this battle looks very much favourable for our team as it stands at the moment. Let's just pause the game for a second. Let's say we've got our cavalry lined up there ready to hit. Let's say we've got our infantry attacking both Greek cities and my Scipio units. Remember that Crypto's just brought his infantry all the way over from that other flank there. Now Mystique now is facing two armies. If you notice, he's facing Cal's Brutii and Ulon's Scipii force there. So that's a lot for Mystique to be able to take on two armies there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over there on the right flank. As I say, Crypto's moved all his infantry over. I don't think Crypto's infantry has been involved in the fighting much, so they'll all be fresh and full units there, where a lot of our units are going to be battle depleted, battle damaged. So, right, if you notice that Cal's attacking with his cavalry there into the flank of engaged enemy troops, the rear and flank. Nice hit there by our Brutii ally there. But if you notice that there's a red general there, can you see this? The Julii general. Now, bearing in mind that I've got cavalry there in wedge formation ready to hit, I'm going to go for that general. There's two Julii generals there, can you see? And I'm charging my cavalry, bang, as my cavalry hits. Mind you, my cavalry is very battle damaged there, but I'm hoping that if I can manage to rout one of those Julii generals, that would be great. But as I say, they're so battle damaged there, I don't think they had the weight to be able to do that in the attack. If you notice that Ulon's got some cavalry in behind the enemy infantry there. Nice tactical move by him. Right, can you see over there? I'm charging my cavalry in again, going for the Julii general yet again, and bang! Managed to rout the Julii general there. So as we know, all their units will now start to suffer morale loss. Now I'm going to take my cavalry round. Can you see what I'm going to do now? And then smash my cavalry into the back of the engaged Julii infantry, and bang, as they go round. Straight into the back of that engaged Julii infantry now, and we've got a mass rout of Julii units there. You can see there's a few of the Julii units left there that have kind of, I think they've rallied. I think they were routed, but they've rallied and come back into the fray. But I just don't think there's enough of them to be able to make much of a difference there. Right, can you see that Cal's charging his cavalry and going for the SPQR general, and bang, routed the SPQR general there. Cal using all his years of experience there, hitting the SPQR general, knowing now that all those SPQR units' morale will lower as the general's now been killed.
And now his men fear us. It is time to press the attack.
And at this stage of the battle, it looks like it's just going to be just a bit of time there to to finish off a few of the enemy units that are left there. So I think this is the first time we've ever played on this map, made by Brotherhood member Crypto. As you can see, there's piles of dead all over this battlefield here, where you can see that the fighting was quite intense in certain parts of the battlefield, but there's dead kind of all over it, with just let's say clumps of more dead, if you like, where the battle was more intense. Let's say over on the left flank here, I think, can you see that Mystique's still got some units left that she's using to chase down some archery units? But my guess is she will admit defeat soon, and our team would have managed to go on to win there. I just take you back to this left flank here, though, where there's dead of cavalry, mostly cavalry are here. As I say, I think this was a pivotal part of the battle here. Whoever won here would have been able to get behind their engaged enemy infantry and being able to rout them. And I think, as I say, it was a pivotal part of the battle, and I think probably all of you watching this would have agreed there that whoever won there would go on to win, and that's what's actually happened there. I say it's very aggressive here, attacking by the Spartans there. Nice work there. Okay, the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game there. I thought there was some great teamwork there, some great attacking moves, and really well played, to say, to everybody in the game there. I'd just like to give a quick word for Gladius there. If you notice, all the way through the battle there, he split his army into two, and with his B army he put over with my infantry because he could see the cavalry threat that might have hit my infantry there. So that was a nice move by Gladius there, splitting his army into two and giving me his B army to be able to defend against cavalry hits. Plus he attacked with his main A army as well. So that was good moves by him. I'd just like to say, really well played to Crypto, Mystique, Uther and Steve Longshanks. Really well played, guys. Nice aggressive attacking moves there, so really well done. And also I'd like to give just a shout to Cal as well. If you notice that Cal brought infantry all the way over from the right flank to help, plus he brought his cavalry over as well. So as I say, new players watching this, team battles are just that. It's all about teamwork, helping each other out, even if you got to take units right the way over the other side of the battlefield to help your teammates out, like Cal did there. That's just what you need to do. So really well played to Oolong, Cal and Gladius. This is Spartan Commander saying bye for now.